Well, you'll never guess what. Dr. Nachi Sinha is back with us today, and he was here last week beginning our series on workplace bullying. And today we're talking about how we can deal with workplace bullying. And there's actually 8 steps that we can take. So you've got a lot of chances here. Good afternoon, sir. How are you, by the way?
I'm very well, Toby. And the Queen hasn't allowed me to use this title yet, so. Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're in Canada, right? I think you can get that in an honorary way or something.
I'm sure we could. So, yes, you're right. I mean, last time when we met, we talked about, the 10 common signs of bullying, of course. And, this time we're going to talk about what steps. And the reason for that, of course, Toby, is that suppose that one kind of you brush off bullying or choose to ignore the bullying behavior. The problem is that it only kind of becomes more severe and creates more problems. That's why ignoring, the bullies or not paying attention to them is kind of off the table. The idea about, don't pay attention, ignore them, that doesn't serve any purpose apart from making things worse. So because you do not deserve to be bullied, ridiculed, or disrespected by anyone, that's why you need to do something about it.
Yeah. And how do we actually deal with workplace bullying?
Right. So one of the first steps to do, is actually to speak up for yourself. And it might sound a bit difficult, but putting it in the context, you've got to see that it's the important thing to do. I mean, if your co-workers or seniors are deliberately avoiding you or ignore you during a discussion or a meeting, that's bullying behavior. Now, the best way to end this behavior is to talk to the bully. So again, approach the bully and have a quiet and polite conversation. Discuss the change in the behavior towards you and try to reach the root cause that compelled them to this behavior. So let's say you can go up to them and politely, I'm not asking you to, sort of get into a fist fight there, but just politely say, hey man, Steve, let's say Steve is the chap who's doing it to you. Like, hey Steve, man, notice that you're avoiding me. Is everything okay? Can we discuss the problems you're having with me? The thing here is what's happening is that recognizing the bullying behavior and speaking up for yourself will sort of indicate that the mistreatment is sort of recognized by you and might sort of work to nib it in the bud. But it also helps you foster a positive relationship with your coworkers.
Yeah. And when we approach Steve or Barbara or Sally, whoever it is that the bully is, would it be a good idea to establish some boundaries with them?
Yes. So it's very important. Establishing boundaries and communicating them to the bullies is the best way actually to end the bullying behavior. So you establish your boundaries and then you let them know that, hey, man, this is the boundary I'm talking about. Now, it will alert them, if you stand for yourself and make it clear that you won't tolerate any kind of nonsense jokes or remarks or aggressive behaviors toward yourself. Now, consequently, they won't bother you because they know that the action, you'll take against them has been already mentioned by you to them.
Yeah.
So, bullying is not just for fun. Let's not forget that, right? The motive behind that is to intimidate, control, and manipulate the person. Thus, when you clearly express that you won't tolerate and take and what action you will take if your boundaries are not respected, it would it makes a difference. Like suppose a coworker sort of often targets you with their belittling or nasty and rude jokes. In that case, you can approach them and say, hey, so and so, I'm not comfortable with your cracking jokes at my expense or ridiculing me. Please stop doing that, or I might have to report you to the manager. You've got to be firm about it. And here's the kicker. If the bullying behavior persists, you can't back out. You'll have to take action. You'll have to stick to your own word and the consequences you talked about. Don't hesitate to take the action that you warned the bully about.
Yeah. And of course, that action could be reporting a co-worker to the manager, as you said. Yeah. Should that only be done in extreme cases?
Well, it's important to understand, the company's policy against bullying, right? Where you work. So one of the best ways to deal with workplace bullying is to actually involve in the upper management. They should be made aware of the people creating a toxic workplace environment and and hurting self-esteem and confidence in employees. Now, before reporting the bullying behavior to your seniors, which is immediate senior, ensure that you understand the company's policy against bullying. Read the company's code of conduct, employee handbook, and other rules and regulations. Understand also what behaviors the company considers bullying and what the reporting procedure is. So the benefit is that by doing the research, you'll be better positioned to communicate your problems to the HR team. Many times what happens, people, when you're feeling miserable about this, what's happened to you, it's kind of hard to get our thoughts together. And that's where going through these rules and company procedures sort of helps us to focus more on what do I point out and so on. So, yeah.
And how should we go about involving management?
Well, it's important to keep track of the bullying behavior. So, for example, if you are constantly and severely bullied at the workplace, it's important to involve your supervisor, our manager, to address the issue. So we got that bit sorted, but talk to them about the problems you're facing from the bully and how it's taking a toll on your confidence. And you have to provide them with concrete proofs, so that they can take concrete measures on your behalf. A wishy-washy sort of thing, unfortunately, doesn't really work, even though emotionally it hurts, but concrete, examples are always important. So keep track of bullying behavior and note down the details, like the day, date, time, the incident. Let's say, for example, you receive a threatening email, note, a message. Save them when you record. Similarly, if a person yells at you on a phone call, degrades you, keep a recording of the call. You got to do what you have to do to protect yourself. You can also note down the names of your colleagues who witnessed the bullying behavior. And when you have, a bit of evidence, it will make it easy for the supervisor to help you out, because the supervisor also has to follow the same rules, right? To take action against the person who's bullying you. It's also important that it is within the rules so that the supervisor doesn't come across as a bully to the bully. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting from that perspective. Now, but what if your supervisor bullies you, right, and undervalues your work? That can happen too. So in that case, you can talk to the HR department.
And how do you do that if they are the bully?
So reporting the bullying behavior to human resources or HR department, any decent company, has an HR department, particularly for these reasons, to make sure that the human resources, which are the employees, are managed properly, right? So if your manager or supervisor are the ones who are bothering and mistreating you, don't be afraid to seek help from the HR team. You can send them an email about your problems, attach the proof so they can look into the matter. You can also request them to meet you in person to clearly explain what's going on between you and the other party, the bully. Now, in most cases, the HR team investigates the matter and takes action to set an example for the rest of the employees. However, if the HR team doesn't take any action, right, that's a possibility too, or favors the bully, or the team shows bullying behavior, then you're left with two choices. And one of them, of course, is to seek legal help.
Is that easy to do?
Well, that's the thing, right? Taking a stand is never easy, but one has to, right? So if the HR team also fails to help you and protect you from workplace bullying, you can seek help from law, of course, using lawyers. Explain the situation and the steps you've taken against bullying behavior. There are special lawyers for this to deal with labor religion matter. And the lawyer will let you know what your available options to the situation, right? So, but this option, of course, is costly. In the sense that the lawyer will charge their fees. And if you think involving an attorney and spending your money on fees is not worth it, then unfortunately, then you're left with one option, only, which is leaving the company.
And is that a good idea? Because you could lose your income and lose your way of life. It could actually make things worse, maybe, couldn't it?
Yeah. You see, the point is, Toby, that working in an environment where you're disrespected, ill-treated, degraded, and constantly critiqued, despite performing your best, is not worth it. Your employment contract, expects you to work for the company for a pre-decided, amount of money that you're going to get, right? However, it doesn't entitle the boss or colleague to resort to bullying behavior with you. So if you're bullied and the HR is not helping you out, that should clearly indicate to you that the company has a solidly toxic culture, right? So, and the best action in this case is to quit the company. I mean, you try to look for legal advice. Unfortunately, it's too much to pay. I mean, you can't sacrifice your life to over a company that won't get better. So staying in such an environment will disturb your personal life and mental peace. And, and if you remember from the books that we talked about, I mean, there was a chapter, in my book, which is worth the price that you've been asked to pay, right? So it's a classic example of that. I mean, how much am I supposed to pay for this? And then you come to a point where you say, you know what, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay anymore.
And as I kind of touched on, a lot of people will still find it tough to leave their job, won't they? I mean, is there still support out there?
Right. You're right. Quitting the job you love and to which you have given many years of your life, you're right, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of seek support, right? I mean, talk to your spouse, family members, friends, and try to sort of express your feelings. Channeling out your feelings sort of helps clear your mind and allows you to think more positively. I mean, you must also inform your friends and network that you resigned from your previous job and are looking for a new job. They might be able to connect you to companies, where you can utilize, your skills can be utilized and along with your experience, of course.
Yes. Well, we've ended up talking about the 8 steps to deal with workplace bullying. Right. What would be your overall summary today?
So, I mean, these 8 steps, of course, in general, will surely help one deal with workplace bullying, right? I mean, I never say it's going to be easy, right? But it has to be dealt with. And kind of will make your life sort of, work life sort of free from mistreatment, guilt, and this constant mental turmoil. And I think that's important at the end of the day, where just because you're passionate about your work, just because you like what you do, it doesn't mean that you're okay to be bullied.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you'll be back on the show next week to talk about how to support workplace bullying victims. Looking forward to that. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Toby. Take care.